Number 28. Muffler. Your engine is basically a controlled explosion machine, and explosions are meant to be loud. That's where the muffler comes in. Tucked at the back of your exhaust system, the muffler's job is simple: quiet things down. But the muffler doesn't just block the sound. Inside, it has special chambers and tubes that bounce the sound waves around, so they cancel each other out. Kind of like noise-canceling headphones do for your ears. Number 27. Horsepower. It tells us how much work a car can do over time. So a 400 horsepower car isn't just stronger than a 130 horsepower one. It can keep applying more force, more consistently. But a common misconception is that 1 horsepower equals the peak output of a single horse. It started as an old marketing tactic. Back in the 18th century, Scottish engineer James Watt coined the term horsepower to help people understand how powerful his steam engines were. So he compared them to something familiar: a horse. He watched horses working at a coal mine and came up with a number. 1 horsepower equals 33,000 foot-pounds of work per minute. He claimed that one of his improved steam engines could produce enough power to replace 10 of cart-pulling horses, or 10 horsepower. It was a clever idea, but not exactly accurate. A healthy horse can actually produce more than 1 horsepower, at least in short bursts. Watt had underestimated them, but his catchy name stuck and people ran with it. Number 26. Serpentine belt. The name serpentine comes from the Latin word serpens, meaning snake. Even though it sounds intimidating, the serpentine belt is actually just a long rubber belt that winds around many parts inside your engine. This belt helps power important things like your car's battery charger, power steering, air conditioning, and sometimes the water pump, all at once. But why the name serpentine? Well, it's because this belt twists and turns around a bunch of wheels called pulleys, just like a snake slithering through grass. Before this belt, cars used lots of smaller belts to do the same jobs, which made things more complicated. The serpentine belt does it all in one smooth loop, making it simpler and easier to keep your car running. Number 25. Radiator. Did you know that when you put gas in your car, about 65 cents of every dollar is lost as heat? That's because most gas engines only use about 30 to 35% of the fuel's energy to actually move the car. So where does all that extra heat go? It goes into the engine, and if it stays there, the engine would get too hot and could break. That's where the radiator comes in. It's part of the engine's cooling system, and its job is to keep the engine from overheating. The radiator moves a special liquid called coolant through the engine to soak up the heat. Then it sends the hot coolant to the radiator itself, where the heat can escape into the air, keeping the engine cool and happy. Number 24. ECU. The ECU, or engine control unit, is like your car's brain, but instead of thinking, it's always busy reading data. Your car has a bunch of tiny sensors checking everything: the air outside, how much fuel is in the system, how hard you're pressing the gas pedal, and even what's coming out of the exhaust pipe. All that information gets sent straight to the ECU. The ECU then decides what to do, like exactly when to spray fuel into the engine, when to create the spark that makes it run, and how to keep pollution low. And it does this not once or twice, but thousands of times every single second. And here's the wild part: many modern cars don't just have one ECU. They can have over 100 of them, each controlling different things like the engine, brakes, or even your airbags, all working together to keep your drive smooth and safe. Number 23. Catalytic converter. Did you know that catalytic converters are one of the most stolen parts from cars? Thieves know they can get anywhere from $250 to $800 for just one, depending on the vehicle. And it's not because they love emissions equipment, it's because of what's inside. The catalytic converter is part of your car's exhaust system. Its job is simple but important. Take the nasty gases your engine makes, like carbon monoxide and leftover fuel, and clean them up before they leave the tailpipe. Inside, there's a ceramic honeycomb coated with precious metals like platinum, palladium, and rhodium. These metals trigger a chemical reaction that turns those harmful gases into less harmful ones, like carbon dioxide and water vapor. And since those metals are worth a lot, catalytic converters have become a hot target for thieves looking to make quick cash on the black market. Number 22. Alternator. If your car's battery is the starting point, the alternator is what keeps the whole show running. Once the engine's on, it takes over as your car's main power source. Think of it as a small generator driven by a belt connected to the engine. As it spins, it turns mechanical energy into electricity, feeding everything from your headlights and radio to the AC, phone charger, and even those dashboard warning lights. Its most important job? Keeping your battery topped up while you drive. Without it, your battery would run out in minutes, leaving you with nothing but a sad click when you turn the key. Number 21. CEL. Check engine light, or CEL, is something most drivers and even experienced tuners fear the most. After all, it doesn't make noise. It doesn't tell you what's wrong. It just shows up like a vague warning. The CEL is part of your car's onboard computer system. When a problem happens, like a sensor stops working or the fuel mix isn't right, the computer stores a code and turns the CEL on. The problem is that CEL can mean anything from your gas cap is loose to your catalytic converter is melting. So it's both extremely helpful and extremely unhelpful. Number 20, OBD. Did you know modern cars can talk to mechanics? That's thanks to something called OBD, or onboard diagnostics. This built-in system is like your car's personal health monitor, constantly tracking engine performance, emissions, sensors, and more. When something's off, it stores a trouble code and usually lights up that dreaded check engine light. Mechanics can plug in a small scanner to read these codes, which helps them quickly figure out what's wrong, whether it's a loose gas cap or a misfiring cylinder. There are two versions, OBD1, which is older and less standardized, and OBD2, which became mandatory in most cars from 1996 onward. Number 19, chassis. If a car had bones, the chassis would be its skeleton. It's the main structure that holds everything together: the engine, body, wheels, and all the other bits that make a car, well, a car. Back in the early days, chassis were made of wood, and car makers didn't exactly get creative. From 1896 to about 1910, most designs were basically copied straight from horse-drawn carriages. Swap the horse for an engine, and you were good to go. These days, most cars use a unibody design, where the chassis and body are fused into one solid metal shell. It's lighter, stiffer, and more efficient because everything's built as a single piece. But not all vehicles follow that rule. Trucks and serious off-road machines usually stick with the ladder frame, two parallel rails with cross members that literally form a ladder. It's heavier, but a lot tougher. Number 18, differential. The differential is that strange, lumpy piece of metal sitting between your rear wheels, but it's secretly one of the smartest parts of your car. Here's the problem it solves. When you turn, your outside wheel travels farther than your inside wheel, but both are still getting power from the engine. Without some clever engineering, you'd be forcing both wheels to spin at the same speed, and something would snap pretty quickly. The differential solves this by splitting power between the wheels, letting each rotate at its own pace without losing traction. Smooth, simple, effective. And this isn't some modern breakthrough. Ancient Chinese chariots used the same concept over 2,000 years ago. Number 17, transmission. The transmission is like your car's messenger. The engine makes power, but the transmission delivers it to the wheels so you can actually move. It helps the engine and wheels work together so your ride feels smooth, whether you're going fast, slow, or up a big hill. Now, there are a few types of transmissions. With a manual, you change the gears using a clutch and stick. With an automatic, the car does the work for you. And continuously variable transmission, or CVT, is a special kind that doesn't use regular gears at all. It's more like a stretchy rubber band that changes shape to go faster or slower, nice and smooth. Number 16, suspension. Did you know your car has a whole system dedicated to making your ride feel smooth, even on rough roads? It's called suspension, and without it, every driving experience would feel like riding a shopping cart over gravel. The suspension is made up of springs, shocks, and other components that absorb the impact from bumps, dips, and potholes. It cushions your car from the road so you don't feel every little jolt, but it also keeps your tires in steady contact with the ground. If your wheels bounce too much or lose grip, it gets harder to steer, brake, or stay in control. Number 15, carburetor and fuel injector. All right, let's talk about how your car eats. Your engine needs two things to run: fuel and air, and there are two main ways to get that mix just right. A long time ago, cars used something called a carburetor. It mixed the fuel and air together before sending it to the engine. Not perfect, but it got the job done. Then came the fuel injector, the modern way. It squirts exactly the right amount of fuel, right where the engine needs it. No guessing, no mess. Now, carburetors are still around, but mostly on old cars, motorcycles, or maybe your grandpa's lawnmower. Number 14, throttle body. Ever wondered what really happens when you press the gas pedal? You're not pouring in fuel, you're letting in air. That's where the throttle body comes in. Think of it as a small gateway that controls how much air the engine gets. Press the pedal, and a flap inside the throttle body opens up. The wider it opens, the more air flows in. The car's computer then adds just the right amount of fuel to match that airflow, and together, they create the power that moves your car. In older cars, this was all done with a simple cable linking your foot to the throttle. Press down, flap opens. End of story. Modern cars, though, use electronic throttle control. Instead of a cable, your pedal sends an electronic signal to the ECU, which decides exactly how far to open the throttle. Same result, just with a lot more precision. Number 13, mass airflow sensor. If the throttle body is the door that controls how much air can get into the engine, the mass airflow sensor, MAF for short, is the one standing at that door with a clipboard, counting exactly how much air is coming in. It sits just after the air filter, measuring the airflow in real time. That data goes straight to the car's computer, which then mixes in the perfect amount of fuel. Get it wrong, and things go south fast. Too much air and not enough fuel, and the engine runs lean. maybe even misfires. Too little air and your car wastes fuel and loses power. The MAF's whole job is to make sure the engine breathes just the right amount every second you're driving. Number 12, pistons. Pistons are like the engine's muscles. They live inside the cylinders and move up and down way faster than you can blink. In fact, thousands of times every single minute. But why are they moving up and down? Well, when your car mixes fuel and air, it makes a little boom. Not the scary kind, and just enough to give them a push. That boom launches the piston down like a rocket, and that is what helps your car move. Then the piston moves back up, pushes out the exhaust, and gets ready for the next explosion. Some cars have 4 pistons, some have 6, and some even have 8. The more pistons an engine has, the smoother and stronger it runs. Number 11, camshaft. Your engine is a bit like a pair of lungs with a brain. It needs to breathe in fresh air mixed with fuel, then breathe out dirty exhaust. But it can't just breathe whenever it wants. It needs perfect timing. That's where the camshaft comes in. The camshaft is like the engine's breathing timer. It has small, egg-shaped bumps called lobes. As it spins, each lobe gently pushes a little door called a valve to open so air and fuel can rush in, or to let exhaust escape. Once the bump passes, the valve closes again, like opening and shutting a window at just the right moment. But here's the important part. The camshaft has to work in perfect sync with the crankshaft, which makes the pistons move. It's like 2 dancers keeping the same beat. If one dancer gets out of step, the whole routine falls apart. And if they're really out of sync, the engine won't run at all. Number 10, timing belt. The timing belt might look simple. Just a rubber belt with little teeth on it, but it's one of the most important parts of your engine. Think of it as the conductor of an orchestra, making sure all the musicians play in perfect harmony. In this case, the musicians are your camshaft and crankshaft. The crankshaft moves the pistons up and down, while the camshaft opens and closes the valves to let air and fuel in and exhaust out. The timing belt keeps them moving in perfect sync, so the engine can breathe and work properly. If the belt slips, even a tiny bit, the timing gets messed up and the engine starts running badly, or not at all. Number 9, spark plug. Inside your engine, there's a tiny part called the spark plug. Think of it like a little matchstick. Its job is to light a fire, yes, a real fire, inside the engine. Here's how it works. Your engine mixes air and fuel together, then squishes it really tight inside a cylinder. When everything's ready, the spark plug makes a tiny lightning bolt. That spark sets the air and fuel on fire, causing a small explosion. That explosion pushes the piston down, and that's what helps your car move. But here's something fascinating. This happens thousands of times per minute, across multiple cylinders, in perfect rhythm. If even one spark plug misfires, you'll feel it. Rough idling, sluggish acceleration, or worse. Number 8, oil pump. Think of it like your heart, but for your engine. Just as your heart keeps blood flowing through your body, the oil pump keeps engine oil moving through tiny passages reaching everything that moves. The pistons, camshaft, crankshaft, bearings, you name it. Once the oil gets where it needs to go, it reduces friction, cools things down, and protects metal parts from grinding against each other. The pump is usually located low in the engine, where it pulls oil from the oil pan and pushes it upward through the block and cylinder heads. It runs non-stop every single second the engine is on. No oil pump? Your engine would overheat and seize in minutes. Number 7, clutch. Imagine your engine is like a treadmill that never stops running. And your wheels, they're your legs. You can't just jump onto a moving treadmill at full speed, you'd wipe out. That's what the clutch is for. It lets you connect to the engine smoothly. Inside, it works with a set of plates. When you press the clutch pedal, the plates separate, cutting the power from the engine to the wheels. When you release the pedal, the plates press together again and send power back to the wheels. Using the clutch is all about timing and control. Let go too fast and the car stalls. Too slow and you wear the clutch out. But get it right, and your drive is smooth as butter. Number 6, flywheel. Every car engine makes power by firing the pistons one after another. But it doesn't do this in a smooth, steady way. It gives power in short bursts. Without help, those bursts would make the car feel shaky and uneven. That's why engines need something to smooth things out, and that's the job of the flywheel. The flywheel is a big, heavy metal disc that spins along with the engine. Because it's heavy, it keeps spinning, even when the engine isn't pushing. That spinning helps fill in the gaps between each burst of power. So instead of feeling like stop, go, your engine feels smooth and steady, thanks to the flywheel. Number 5, ABS. Did you know ABS was originally invented for airplanes? Back in 1929, a French aviation pioneer named Gabriel Voisin created a system to help planes brake without skidding on landing. Fast forward to today, and that same idea is saving lives on the road. ABS stands for Anti-Lock Braking System. Its job? To stop your wheels from locking up when you slam the brakes. Because once the wheels stop spinning, you lose control, and steering becomes impossible. ABS fixes that by rapidly pumping the brakes for you, sometimes up to 15 times per second. That lets the tires maintain grip so your car stays stable and steerable, especially on wet or slippery roads. Number 4. Intake and exhaust manifold. Think of your engine like a pair of lungs. Just like you breathe in fresh air and breathe out waste, your engine needs to do the same. The intake manifold is like the engine's inhale. It takes in fresh air mixed with fuel and carefully splits it up, sending the right amount to each cylinder. Imagine it as a delivery center, making sure every cylinder gets exactly what it needs so the engine runs smoothly. After the engine burns this air-fuel mix, the exhaust manifold handles the exhale. It collects the hot, used gases from each cylinder and sends them into the exhaust system to safely flow out the back of your car. Number 3. CV joint. Think of your car like a toy car you push around. If the front wheels could only roll straight, turning corners would be almost impossible. That's where the CV joint comes in. It's like a flexible wrist for your car's wheels. It lets them spin to move the car forward, but also bend left and right so you can steer smoothly. It's called a constant velocity joint because it keeps the wheels spinning evenly, even when the road is rough or the wheels are turning. Without the CV joint, your car's axles would break every time you tried to turn. Number 2. Turbocharger. Did you know your car's engine can get stronger by reusing the hot air it pushes out? That's exactly what a turbocharger does. When your engine burns fuel, it creates hot exhaust gases. Instead of wasting that energy, the turbocharger uses those gases to spin a small fan called a turbine. This turbine then pushes extra fresh air into the engine, allowing it to burn more fuel and produce more power. In short, a turbocharger helps your engine breathe better and get stronger without getting bigger. That's why you'll see turbos in fast sports cars and even in some regular cars today. Number 1. FWD, RWD, and AWD. Cars send power to their wheels in different ways, and this affects how they drive. Let's break down the 3 main types. FWD stands for front-wheel drive. Here, the engine powers only the front wheels, which pull the car forward, kind of like pulling a wagon. This setup is common in everyday cars because it's simple and handles well in rain or snow. RWD means rear-wheel drive. The engine powers the back wheels, which push the car forward, while the front wheels handle steering. This gives the car better balance and handling, so you'll often see this in sports cars and trucks. AWD is all-wheel drive. In this case, the engine powers all 4 wheels, either all the time or when extra traction is needed. This helps keep the car stable on slippery or rough roads like in snow or mud. We hope you enjoyed this video. Here's another one you'll love. As always, thanks for watching.